Good morning, everybody. It's Kevin Dewalt of Prolego. Today, I'm going to talk about some of the real-world challenges teams are discovering as they try to build and deploy large language model applications inside the enterprise. Of course, building a simple proof of concept or a demi prototype based on canned data is relatively straightforward. It's a lot harder to build and maintain an actual system that solves a real problem inside an enterprise. So here are some of the top 5 issues that teams are encountering. I drew inspiration from this for Chipwin's fantastic article called Building LLM Models Applications for Production. So you should definitely check it out. All right, here are the 5. Number 1 is scaling prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is an approach to customizing what the large language model does by optimizing what you feed into the prompt, the question you ask. Now, this is pretty straightforward for ChatGPT, and there's all kinds of articles about ways to do it. But when you start doing this for a business application you have to scale, you run into a lot of challenges. The ambiguity, like I've discussed previously, is one. The difficulty in maintaining them, and also the interaction that can happen between users if you're trying to optimize for a particular outcome that you're looking for. So these are some of the challenges. Second challenge is latency. This one is just pretty straightforward. Right now, when you try to make APIs calls to OpenAI's API to use GPT 3.5 and definitely GPT 4, it's just freaking slow. And unfortunately, teams don't realize this until they actually start getting closer to deployment of how it's going to impact the users. People that are talking about the potential of this technology are not really addressing these concerns. For example, there's a fantastic TED Talk by Khan Academy on ways they want to use these large language models in their tutoring of students. It's a great talk, but the video they shows everything running at real time. That's crazy. That's just not the way it works today. Sometimes users can be waiting between a couple of seconds to like 25 seconds to a response. The only way to build and deploy something like that is to do it in batch processing techniques, and it's really not fast enough for real-time applications because people are going to get bored sitting there for 10 seconds waiting for an answer. The third one, optimization patterns. Broadly speaking, there's 2 different ways that people are customizing large language models for their particular application. You've got the prompt engineering approach where you try to feed to a generalized large language model information that's going to customize what you get out of it. And then there's a fine-tuning approach where you're going to retrain the model based on your data so that it delivers information in context of your data. But those are the 2 broad approaches, but within them there's lots of subvariants. And unfortunately, everybody uses different language. And a lot of times when I'm reading an article about how to optimize large language models, I can't really follow what they're talking about. I saw some article that made a reference to something like, one-shot context, dependent, prompt engineering and how this is better. What is all that? I have no idea, and the article didn't have enough information for me to understand what they're talking about. So the language and approaches are really challenging right now. The fourth one is tooling. Right now, we just don't have very good tools for building and managing these systems. I've discussed a couple of the emerging frameworks like LangChain and Lambda Index in previous videos. And I expect a ton more to happen. So these are problems that are going to get fixed as the ecosystems gets better. But for right now, if you've got a roadmap that about building an application, you need to include a lot of ambiguity for the challenges in actually building and employing the application because there's going to have to be so much customized code around it. And the fifth one that I've discussed before, particularly in the context of enterprise AGI, where you're trying to automate lots of business processes at scale, is agent policies. If you've looked at my demonstration of AutoGPT in the previous video, you'll see that the agents are not great at figuring out what they need to do next. We need a way to integrate users and humans into the policy generation so they can effectively direct the agents to what you want them to do. And so far, I just haven't seen a demonstration of that. So these are just considerations as you start building large language models in production. Of course, they're not showstoppers, and I expect the tooling and solutions to evolve very quickly. It's changing every day, and if you follow us here on this channel, we'll try to keep you up to date on the latest. Thanks a lot.